Hey everybody, I'm Nathan Beauvais. Thanks for checking out this video. Today I'd like to talk to you about inflation. Number one, what is it? Number two, why does it happen? And number three, how does it impact you, me, and everyone in our society? So number one, what is it? Well, it is just the rising of prices in the economy. And not just television sets or gasoline, but an aggregate basket of goods and services. In the United States, this basket is sometimes referred to as the Consumer Price Index. 33% of it is made up of housing, while 7% of it is made up of healthcare. But there's a long, long list of other items and services that are in this basket. Over the last 100 years, inflation in the United States has averaged about 2 to 3% a year, but has been higher at times. For example, in the late 1970s, inflation approached 10%. And even in the early time period of the 20th century, the 1910s, inflation was very high then too. That's when the CPI was first created. Okay, number two, why does it happen? This is a little bit more complicated as there are a few things that can impact inflation. But the number one thing is the money supply. And my favorite example of this can be found in the 16th century. This was when Spain was traveling across the ocean to the New World and discovering, or stealing, depending how you want to look at it, vast quantities of gold and silver. Now, as they brought this portable power back to their empire in Spain, many people around the world thought that Spain would expand its empire and increase the living standards of its people. But the exact opposite thing happened. As the next 100 years played out, Spain's influence only decreased around the world. This time period, from the mid 16th century on, is sometimes referred to as the price revolution because it's the first time in human history that we saw prolonged, long term inflation. It was only about 1 to 1.5% per year. But when you consider that this had never happened before in human history, it was incredibly disruptive economically. Now, how does this impact you and me? Well, today, the Federal Reserve, our central bank in the United States, has a target rate inflation of 2%, meaning they would like to see an inflation rate of 2% a year. Now, whether inflation is good or bad for an economy that's an interesting question, but it's not very useful because it's here to stay. You can almost be guaranteed that we will have inflation in our economy for the rest of your life. So you need to ask yourself, what does that mean for me and how do I prepare for it? How do I deal with it? Well, if you don't have any appreciating assets, if you don't own stocks, if you don't own real estate, if you don't own a business, and your income doesn't increase at a rate faster than inflation, it's easy to see how you can get pinched. So what you need to try to do is own assets that appreciate in value. So if it's stocks or investments, any kind of properties, businesses. But if you don't have the stomach for that, then you at least need to own your own home. That's really the only way to quote unquote get ahead. And the term get ahead has only been around since inflation's been around. And it's really important to understand that.